good evening. God bless you. Welcome, Cynthia. How you doing?
Wonderful, Apostle. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. We have a lot of people on tonight, and you guys that are watching and catch the replay, you are in for a treat.
Yes.
Tonight I have a very special friend. Her name is Apostle Cynthia Austin, all the way from Little Rock. Yes,
Yes.
welcome, welcome.
Thank
And
you.
she is the owner of Designing Women Salon and Designing Women Ministries.
Yes.
So Cynthia, tell us a little bit about, because like I said, when I knew you, we were in church together. You were very quiet. You sat on the right side. You sat at the end of the pew, because back in the day we had pews. She
Right.
sat maybe on the third row, second or third row, towards the aisle. I sat
Mhm.
on the second row towards the door. Not that I was trying to get out of there, but hey, it made it easy. All I had to do was cut that corner. My husband was on the end. I was beside him, and we could get up out of there because we had about 1,500 people at the church at the time. So we were trying to get out of there, get home. For me, get that
Yes.
church me out. So I'll be back for Sunday night deliverance service because we
Yes.
didn't know what was going to happen. For those that are watching, I know you've said yes in so many ways. So share with those that are watching and maybe the replay about your first yes. How did you start designing women? Where did that come from?
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Cynthia Austin. I am the visionary for Designing Women Ministries here in Little Rock, Arkansas. I have five sons. Yeah, you heard that right, five sons. But yeah, I just thank God for the calling and the purpose that's on my life. And I remember telling the Lord yes long time ago. Didn't know what that yes was, but I told the Lord yes. I remember a dream that I had that the Lord had told me. He said that, I have placed a word down on the inside of you, a seed, and it shall come forth. And then I just told the Lord, yes, Lord, whatever your will is for my life, I said yes. And I just thank God for, now it makes 19 years, really have been 20, but 19, that we have had a prayer breakfast here in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. It started from my beauty salon, designing women, and I remember going to beauty school. At first, I would go and get my hair done every week, and so I was like, "Oh my God, it seems so easy." And I just began to see how my stylist, had all these clients lined up, making all this money. I said, "God, this looks so easy." So when I sat in her chair and I told her, I said, "Liz, I think I'm going to beauty school." And she told me she think that would be great. And I just thank God for him leading me. The Bible said the steps of a good man that are ordered by God. And so I thank God I went to apply at the beauty school, didn't have to pay a dime. And y'all, when I left beauty school, they ended up giving me money. And
Wow.
so while I was in beauty school, I always told the Lord, I want my own salon. And so I remember going working to another salon for 3 months. There was a knock at the door. I'm telling you, everything is strategic. Everything was planned
Mhm.
by God. And so it was a knock at the door. It's this lady that owned the salon next door. They was getting ready to go out of business. And I think they was getting ready to retire. She said, "Do you know anybody that want to perhaps get the salon next door or buy our salon equipment?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." Me, don't tell nobody else. Y'all, I'm telling you, I didn't know how I was going to get the money, but I came home. I told my late husband, and he came up. I had the faith to believe God that he was going to do it. And that faith led me, my husband, getting the money. And
Mhm.
then that's where I began my business, walking on faith, because anybody that's a hairstylist, knowing that you are on faith, you don't know where your next dollar coming from, but you have the faith to believe God that he's going to provide. And that led to me getting that salon. And so people, in the city, they wanted to come and work at my salon. And I just thank God even for favor with that. And so I had to move from that location to the building next door, which was larger. And from that location, God was just growing my business. And I left that business and went to another business. And that's where the woman of God was in the salon on this particular day. And I'm just going to the restroom, and she was not my client. And she said, "Woman of God." I turned around. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Designing Women Hair Salon is bigger than this." She said, "What you have is a ministry." And she began to tell me some things. And so I went to, and we had a whole lot of people in the salon. I went into the restaurant and just cried my eyeballs out. I said, "God, what are you saying? This woman don't even know me." I said, "But God, I trust you. I trust your word." And I tell you, God began to open up a door. And in the meantime, I know she didn't ask for all of this, but I'm just going to tell y'all. But in the meantime, I was going to California. And my friend, Evangelist Yvonne Gibson Johnson, she was the prayer director there. She would have her prayer breakfast every year. And I would take other ladies with me. And so I knew the ins, the outs, how she operated, how she did everything first class. And so I remember that on this particular day, her late mother, Miss Eileen, we was in the car talking. She said, "Cynthia, go back to Little Rock, Arkansas, and start a prayer breakfast there." I was like, "God, you telling me, shine me?" And it took me 2 years, y'all. 2 years before I started the first Designing Women prayer breakfast in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. And I started out with 165 people. I'm telling y'all, my faith has gotten me to the place that I am at now. And I just thank God because He get the victory, get the glory. And we 19 years into the prayer breakfast, and I'm just so excited. I'm gonna let her ask me another question, yeah, because I can go on and on and on and on and on. But
Yeah, but you
yeah,
can tell
just
she's not that shy person anymore. She is, but she isn't.
yeah,
And that's the great thing about when you say yes to God, because He had told me one time, as big as you can dream, I can bring it to pass. And
yes,
so you serve a big God, and so there's nothing impossible for Him if you
yes,
just believe. And we have to believe. And sometimes things don't happen for us because of our faith. And you hear people talk about, "Oh, ye a little faith." But
yes,
it says, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, a mustard seed is teeny tiny, and I like to say
yes,
teeny tiny, itty bitty. So God knows I have big faith. I have like sometimes my husband just look at me and just like that's between her and God. He don't sometimes he don't even want to know. It just stress him out. And I like the idea that you stepped out on faith to go to school, and then from that you started your business, and He enlarged. Just like we talk about the prayer of Jabez, that He enlarged your
yes,
territory, not just in the salon, but now designing women prayer breakfasts. And I remember coming to one of them, and I know looked like it had at least 350 people there. That
yes,
particular one, I remember the first one, of course, I went to. That's when I met your son Avery,
yes,
and fell in love with him because he's
yes,
a powerful testimony, and it was encouragement for me as a mother who have sons that may not be walking the way that I think they are. That from the Lord, just know He said a promise is a promise, and train up that
yes,
child in the way they could go. And
yes,
so that's one thing I love about the testimony from Bishop Avery. He's now bishop with two
yes.
churches.
Mm-hmm.
But stepping out on faith, and the conference that I remember, the second one that I went to, I was excited. We drove in from Texas because she is truly a visionary, not just to have the prayer breakfasts. She's had them, I know, in at least 3 or 4 cities as
Mm-hmm.
well. But this particular one, she brought Pastor Jamal Bryant, when he was not as popular as he is now, not as well known. So she brought him to Little Rock. I used to watch him on Saturdays when he was in Baltimore. He was their pastor in Baltimore. So my husband and I drove in to be a part of that service that Friday, because that year it was a 2 day. I don't know how many times we had a 2 day conference, but that time it was a Friday night and a Saturday. Well, we
Yes.
had to get back to Austin because we were pastoring at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember so vividly your mother was dealing with health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the call as we were on the highway driving back to Texas that she had transitioned.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things our pastor, Apostle Lawrence Bragg, who now has transitioned to the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
taught us that don't get your personal battles mixed up with your assignment from God. And he taught us that we have to do what we have to do for our families, but to not abort. He said not to abort your
Yes.
assignment. And I can truly say that in that time, especially losing a parent, losing
Yes.
anyone is devastating. Even though we know the scriptures, that they're, as they say, in a better place, or they're, with Jesus. That's fine, but until it happens. And
Yes.
there's no way in the world that you can really prepare emotionally when someone you love is going to transition. But I
Yes.
remember I got the call that she had transitioned, and it was just before you were getting ready to step onto the stage to welcome your guests, a packed house at the convention center in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yes.
If it's not too painful, explain to those that are watching
Mm-hmm.
what it felt like, because you did not abort that assignment. You could have just passed out and said, I can't do this, let somebody else carry on. So, kind of walk us through that to encourage someone that may be going through something and want to throw in the towel,
Yes.
but you have an assignment. You have an assignment from the Lord. So, kind of
Yes.
share with us a little bit about that.
Yes. And I take my assignments, my calling, my ministry, all of my purpose to heart. And I remember that particular year, I did my flyers, and I believe that my theme was the year of release. Didn't know that I would be releasing my mother, but I knew
Wow.
at the same time, because God, the word said He does not leave you ignorant. And so I had my flyers made, and I took it to my mother, and she was so excited. And she's like, "Oh, I pray that I can be at this prayer breakfast," because she loved whatever I put on. My mother always supported it. She was just so just happy, that I was like really walking into her footsteps. And so
Mhm.
I took the flyer, and she just laid it in her bed. The Lord didn't allow me to say anything. And so when she had already had asked my sister Lisa, evangelist, apostle, author, Lisa Poe, to pray her out of here because my mother was really ready to go and be with the Lord. And so I gave my mother the flyer. She just kept it in her bed like it was sleeping with her in the bed. But y'all, it was like God, He was just speaking to me. He said, my mother was not going to be here long. I mean, the Lord was just speaking to me. And
Mhm.
all I was saying to Him, Lord, let me get through this assignment.
Mhm.
That was my prayers to the Lord. Let me get through this assignment. And so I remember they had gave my mother up. And so, that Friday night, like she said, I had at the State House Convention Center. Dr. Jamal Bryan, he was my speaker, and it was like a heavy burden on me. I was there but wasn't there. My mind was where my mother was, and I remember the night before, I brought her home after they had given her up. I got over my mother, I prayed, I said, I release you to go and be with the Lord.
Wow.
And I just told you my prayer breakfast theme was the year of release. And
Mhm.
so all of a sudden, I mean, I prayed, oh, my mother, tongues just started to flowing out of me. And y'all, I'm telling you, it felt like a presence was in the room with me. It felt like it was like the sun, the heat that was from the sun. I felt nothing but presence. And all of a sudden, when I got, finished speaking on my mother, it was like a calmness, a peace. So it was that Thursday night, Friday night, I had the event, Dr. Jamal Bryan. I said I was there, but not there. And so after the event, I told my husband, asked my husband to bring me where my mother was. And all I could do is rub her head and kiss on her because I already knew that was it. And so that Saturday morning, we always started the prayer breakfast at 8 o'clock a.m. And so as I was getting ready to go up, my nephew, Maurice, Elder Maurice Tatum, he came and said, Mama baby gone. I said, what you said? He said, Mama baby is gone. All the grandkids call her Mama baby. And y'all, when I tell you I lost it, oh my God, it was just so painful. I knew it, but my prayers was always, Lord, let me get through this assignment. And
Mhm.
so when I lost it, I lost it, y'all. They had to take me to the back. And that year, particular year, my son, Bishop Avery, also, he was my speaker. And so they took me to the back and, just tried to like, they was praying over me and rubbing me down and all this. And all of a sudden I came back to, I said, well, I have to go, take care of my mother, make sure, I called the people that I need to call to come get her and all of that. And so once they came and got her, I said, I have to go back. I have to go back to the Marriott. We had it at the Marriott that year. And when I tell you that it was a release, it felt like a burden had lifted up off of me. And I said, okay, God, I can do this because God was already guiding me through the process. He
Mhm.
already was telling me what was about to take place. And that's why I thank God for the relationship that we do have. And God, y'all, I'm telling you, that was very, very painful, hurtful, but I knew that I had an assignment and I had to take care of my assignment. And I thank God, give a shout out for my Designing Women team. When I tell you they was in place, they made sure everything was ran accordingly. I thank God for them. And so I had to go back to the Marriott. I made sure all the bills and all of that was paid. But I just thank God, even in that, yeah. All I know is God is an awesome God, because that was very hurtful and painful. But I just want to give a shout out to my team because they was really, really right. And my husband, that he was there. I yeah, yeah. But I'm
Yeah,
so
it's just
thankful.
like I said, it's so amazing because what I heard you say, and the scripture comes to mind that those of us that know the Christ, that we don't grieve as other people do. Yes,
Right.
it was painful, but you had an assignment to complete because your mom had completed her assignment.
Yes.
She had deposited into you,
Yes.
he was able to see the manifestation.
Yes.
As an apostle and as one that walk in the prophetic, oftentimes we don't realize when the Lord gives us a title of something or gives us an unction to do something, that we are the first partakers of it. Like you
Yes.
said, you had no idea when he said the year of release,
Yes.
things that you would be releasing. And I'm sure that's just one of the things that the Lord began to take you down the road to
Mm-hmm.
begin to release. But
Yes.
but since then, since that time, designing women has exploded. You stepped out. I remember designing women in Dallas. I've seen flyers for designing women. Prayer breakfast has been in Stuttgart, Arkansas. And so I know that there's much more that the Lord has for you to do in designing women, that your latter days will be greater than the
Yeah.
former days. So I'm
Amen.
just so excited that I just see a snippet of what you're doing, and where
Yes.
people may have counted you that you weren't unqualified, but the Lord qualified you. They may have
Yes.
called you unworthy, but God counted you worthy. But look,
Amen.
praise to the some, but God said, well done, my
Yeah.
daughter, because we
Yes.
got her. I don't mind looking foolish to man for God
Right.
because it's between me and him. And so even though my husband is still here with me, thank the Lord, and
Mm-hmm.
he's happy there too, I'm sure, that that when the Lord gives me an assignment, I'll tell him, but I won't tell him in detail because it's me and God.
Right.
I can remember when we were pastoring and the Lord would give me something to do for the church, and I would be so excited. And sometimes the members would be shaking their head like, okay, but they wouldn't have that excitement like me. And I would
Mm.
be just, just so upset. And then what he said really freed me. He said, Gretchel, God gave you the vision. So they're not going to be excited as you. And then
That's right.
God gave you designing women. You thought it was a salon, And now, like you said, it's about prayer breakfast. There's been a Designing Women talk show, and I've
Yes.
seen Designing Women be on the local television station there.
Yes.
So as we move into 2025, uh, what are some of the things that if you can share, if God will release you to share, because some things He will tell us that we have to hold close and
Right.
can't, because the enemy, he doesn't know our thoughts, so he's listening to our conversations. There's
Exactly.
no one greater than the Lord, and no one can stop what God has designed for us to do. He can try to slow it down and put little roadblocks. So what are some of the things, if you are, that you can share, that you're getting ready to release, that God's giving you to release?
Oh Lord, it's so much, y'all. But
You can
some things I
share.
cannot
That you can
share at the
share.
moment.
Right.
But one in particular, which I have started before, is it's called Real Women, Real Talk, Real Issues. And my
Wow.
thing with that, people, they want to be like you, but they don't know the shoes that you had to travel to get where you are.
Come on now. Yes.
All they see is your glory, and they think it's just that easy, but it's not that easy. You had to travel in so
Woo.
many different pairs of shoes. You had to travel through so many different paths, avenues, roadblocks, situation to get you to your now. And
Yes.
so with Designing Women, Real Talk, Real Women, Real Issues, it's about women who has gone through, and they now, they has accomplished, and God has blessed them, God has favored them to get
Yes.
them where they are. Sometimes we don't know why we go through things, but it's all for the glory of God, and it's
Yes.
really for somebody else. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it's
Mm-hmm.
really for,
That's it.
somebody else, so they can see your testimony and then glorify Him which is in heaven. Like, if they made it through, oh
Yeah.
yes, I can make it through. And so that's what that segment is all about: Designing Women, real talk, real issues. And like I
I
said,
love that
I
title.
just I believe that the Lord, my talk show, that's really, really in my spirit. That's a vision of mine. Designing Women talk show, Designing Women of Strength, and that consider widows. I am a widow,
Mm-hmm.
and other women. We as women, widow women, we need a support. We need a support
Mm-hmm.
system, because I never have gone this way before, and so that time, and I know she was getting ready to come get to this, but in the year of 2014, my husband passed away, transitioned suddenly.
Yes.
And when I tell you, it was suddenly, and it took me for a loop. But in the meantime, even before that, the Lord was dealing with me. And I remember having a dream, and then I'm not gonna go in details of the dream, but in the dream, the Lord told me to trust the process. I didn't know what the process was, but then after my husband transitioned, I knew exactly what God was talking about. He was giving me dreams. And even y'all, my husband, I had changed around in my bedroom. And so one particular night, I just got on his side. And so he's like, "Woman, get back on your side." So no. So he started sleeping in the den. And I was like, "God, are you really showing me something?" And didn't know at the time that, yeah, God was just preparing me. And I just thank God, because He is the God that He is. But Designing Women of Strength, it deals, widows coming together, showing each other love. And, because we need somebody. We all might have went through the death of our husband differently, but that pain is real.
Mm-hmm.
And that pain is what we experience. And I mean, it's more. Yeah, a lot more that God has. And like I said, I can't share right now. But yeah, God is
Wow.
setting me up, and He's getting me ready for greater. Like she said earlier, He's enlarging my territory. And I know that God has me to go into different cities,
Mm-hmm.
states, to have Designing Women prayer breakfast, because Designing Women prayer breakfast, we honor pastors, leaders, first ladies, community service people, just to give them that recognition that they're really needing, because some pastors have pastored 40, 50 years and never been
Mhm.
honored. And every time, like, I do call the pastors, they're like, me? You sure me? Now you done been pastoring and preaching all these many years, so why not you? So, that just give me great excitement when I do make the call to them and say, we as a ministry, Designing Women, would like to honor you. And y'all just should just hear the excitement that they have, and to say I thank God for Designing Women Ministry, because God did this. God did this ministry where we was able to honor pastors and give away a scholarship to a high school senior in the honor of my husband. God is just doing great things, and all I can tell people, it's all about God. It's all about my faith in Him, because I go in, don't have a budget, but my faith is my budget. I mean, I just believe God. I
Mhm.
believe God, and never owe. Always came out with a zero balance, and nobody but God. And God has given me venues free, like the State House Convention Center. He gave it to me for free one year, and yeah, I mean, all I know that this is God. So my thing is, if God telling you to do anything ministry wise, even accepting your calling,
Mhm.
all you have to do is just say yes, and leave the rest up to God, because like I said earlier, the steps of a good man, they are ordered by God.
Mhm.
God will begin to give you what it is that you're supposed to be doing, because I oftentimes said that we are here with a purpose. We are here with a calling. Everybody have that, but it's up to you to go inside, because we
Mhm.
all are destined for greatness. We all are, but it's
Yeah.
up to you to believe in that. It's up to you. Yeah.
Wow, that is so good. And I like what you said. I love Cynthia. She's one of those people. We don't talk all the time, but when we do, it's always divine. Uh,
Yes.
the Lord allowed me one day. She was in my spirit, and I called her that day. Her husband, they were putting him in the ambulance. That he was really passing, and the Lord allowed me to call at that time. So for those of you that are listening, when you get an unction or it drops in your spirit or you think about somebody, ask God what you should do, because it's not for naught that you're not thinking about that person. Because I just heard her name and I called her. And it was right at that moment that her husband had collapsed and they had put him in the ambulance at the time. And I was
Mhm.
like, whoa. And then I remember another time that our former pastor, I didn't call him a lot. I wasn't one of those members, or even former members that were calling. But that particular night, I kept hearing his name, and I'm like, I can't call him, and, because sometimes God will tell us to do something. We're like, no, I can't call him. So, but I did, and when I called him, he answered the phone and he said, I didn't know why I was calling him. He said, my son. He said, my son just died. I'm like, what? I was so shocked. And the word hadn't even got out. He was still with the body. And the Lord had me to call him. And
Right.
so sometimes when you think you're not really connected to that person because you don't talk to them all the time, ask
Exactly.
God, because you're really connected. You're really connected.
Exactly.
And so just wanted, to throw that out there for somebody that's listening, because whoever's listening, you've been getting that, feeling like you need to call somebody and you discounted it and pushed it aside. Moving forward, the Lord wants you to follow his leading, because it's him
Exactly.
speaking to you. It's not
Exactly.
just a thought, because we don't have any
Yes.
thoughts unless God gives them to us anyway. So
Exactly.
follow the leading of the Holy Spirit. A couple last things, Cynthia, before we close. You said something powerful about starting. The Lord has given you a Designing Women organization for widows. You and another good friend of mine, both husbands transitioned suddenly,
Hmm.
and that is so. We're really, I know, three people that, and they're dealing, and those that have lost their spouse, they're dealing with something totally different. What I've learned, because I'm certified in trauma and healing, that grief is a process, and I don't care
Yes,
how
it
much
is.
word you have on the inside,
Yes.
and I don't care if you lost your husband and our other friend lost her husband. it's a different walk. It's a different
Yes.
process. And so what I learned in the trauma healing, everyone has a process and we have to allow them to walk out that process. But the great thing, what you said, Cynthia, that is for other widows. You may handle it differently than this other person, but you all have something in common. Not
Yes.
to cry and have a pity party, but how
Right.
can I help my sister walk through this healing process? So
Right.
that is so powerful in what God has given you. I'm so excited about that. And of course, we right here, we may be a few hours away, but we're praying for you and for God
Yes.
to, of course, continue to enlarge your territory and to do all the things that God's called you to do. Because I know you, without saying, like me, when I stand before the Lord, I want Him to say, not only well done, and my good and faithful servant, but that I transitioned or died empty, that I gave out and poured
Exactly.
into other people everything that He wanted me to pour out, because in the Bible it talks about the older women, and I often say it doesn't necessarily mean age, but your maturity, my level of experience, those things that I have walked through, that walk through it with my sister, that I can help you and maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that I did. Like, don't do like I did. This is what happened. Just like when you're cooking, said, I don't care how tough your skin is, you need to put that mitten on the pot when you get the cake pan out of the oven. Don't
Yes.
you want to burn your hand. So I don't want some of my sisters to get burned or scorched. Let me show you what not to do.
Right.
I
And
yeah, free people, free people. I'm transparent. I will tell you. I will
right.
tell you. I was what they said. I was a rich undone. I was tore up
Right.
from the toe up. So no. So I appreciate what you're doing, and you're getting ready to do the next conference. So go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say this in the transition of my husband, after, I'm going through the grief and, like the loneliness and, the crying all the night and all, all of that. So I did have to go see a therapy. And she said, Cynthia, do you believe that your husband coming back? I said, I know he's not because he's gone on to be with the Lord. She said, well, then you are on your road to recovery. And I remember on one Sunday, I was in my kitchen and the Lord, He told me, and I heard His voice. He said, take off those clothes of mourning and put on the clothes of praise. He said, it's time now for you to rediscover who you really are.
Come on.
And that's another event that I really want to put together because we can lose ourselves, whether you married, raising your kids, or whatever it is. But I heard the Lord say that you need to rediscover who you really are, who you really came to this earth to be. And I said, yes, Lord. And so in that, I'm really rediscovering who the Cynthia is and what I really, and I believe that I am doing what God is calling me to do, but there's other, and that I could be able to help somebody else. And God have given me all the tools to put together for a conference because we really need to rediscover who we are, why
Mhm.
we here, and so I just wanted just to throw that out because, yeah, sometimes I have asked some of my clients, I said, do you know your purpose? Do you know your calling? And the majority of them said no. And so that's what rediscovering is going to be about. Why you here? What's your
Mhm.
purpose? And so I just want to just throw that out.
Well,
Woman
that's
of
good.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, now that's good because I had to go through that, and I had to work with a lot of mothers that because I'm a coach as well. I work with so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I had, like you said, because I was so vested in raising my children and being
Yes.
a mom and being a wife, that I was one of those at graduation, the youngest son of man that all of y'all know. I was sad when he was getting ready to graduate high school. I
Yes.
remember in the graduation, they
Uh-huh.
started playing the music. I'm about to start crying because it's like, okay, that's the last one. I only have two sons. And so I was like, now what am I gonna do? Because my life had been wrapped up with being a mom. I
Mm-hmm.
love ministry, but I love being a mom and a grandmother. And God has blessed me to be a mother in Zion, they call it. I have a lot of
Yeah.
spiritual daughters. I love being a mom. I'm such a nurturer.
Yes.
And I was like, now what am I going to do? Like you said, I had to rediscover myself. Now, my husband was different. He's like, to me, I like to describe him as the animal, as the male person, animal in the jungle that eat the babies. That's him. He was like, here I am, sad, trying to figure out, God, what am I going to do now? No, I
Uh-huh.
said, I went down the list. I'm like, no more parent teacher conferences, no sporting events, you
Yes.
know, no, no calls from the principal because he won't act right in school.
Right.
Now what am I going to do? And
Yes.
my husband was like, I'm gonna live. He was like, yes, no
That's
more.
it.
He was the opposite, like no more of any of that. He was looking forward to the freedom. But me, I had to discover, and I work with individuals and I ask them because we can get so wrapped up, whether it's our job, ministry, that
Yes.
that what do you like? You don't even know what you like. What
Right.
do you like to
Exactly.
do? I've asked people, what do you like to do for fun? They like,
Yes.
I don't know, because their life has been wrapped up, whether it's that spouse, and
Yeah.
especially like you said, if you have a spouse, whether it's male or female, if you have a spouse that walked away from you, you walked through a divorce, or you had a tragedy, you have, they transition, they pass away. So
Yes.
so that whole rediscovery is so important. And the thing, Cynthia, is that it's not one time. It's a
Right.
constant, because what
Yes.
you like this time, you
Right.
decide maybe you don't like that anymore. You want to try something
Exactly.
different. So it's a constant time of rediscovering,
Mm-hmm.
rediscovering ourselves, but asking ourselves, what did God call me to do? And because He called us to be more than just parents or just go to work and come home.
Mm-hmm.
There is purpose. My husband
Yes.
used to say, I'm just not here on this work just to suck up oxygen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So no, there is a purpose. And so, I
Yes.
applaud you for all the things that God has given you. And I, I declare, long life and great health over you,
Thank you.
because everything that God has said that you can do, you can do. Like you said, because a righteous man's footsteps are ordered by him.
Yes.
We didn't say we were going to have that we weren't going to have distractions, that everything was going to be perfect. But can we press? Because I heard you
Yes.
talking about the different challenges, but can you continue to function under
Mhm.
pressure? Can you
Yes.
continue to walk in purpose and do what God's called you to do,
Yes.
regardless of what it looks like? Regardless of what it looks like, but we have to stay focused. Just like Peter, he began to sink when he took his eyes off the Lord. So we have
Amen.
to stay laser focused and pinpoint on what God's called us to do, not going to the left or the right, but just staying focused.
Yeah.
You might glimpse over there, like when you're driving to the side, but you got to stay focused. You don't have
Yes.
so stay focused so you won't have a wreck in doing those things that God
Amen.
called you to do. So
Amen.
March is coming and
Yes.
designing women. So tell us about, share with those that are listening, the date and location of this year's prayer breakfast.
Yes, y'all. This is our 19th annual prayer breakfast, designing women and men in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, at the Chenal Country Club. Y'all is going up. The theme is the open door. And I believe that we are in the season of the open door. And I'm just so excited. We are so excited. We got our honorees. We have a flyer. I pray this week that we have our flyer ready to go. The men and women that we are honoring, they are so excited. Don't ask me to call their name because I'll be to live out someone. But we are so excited. The team, they are so excited. Yes, I just thank God for using us as a ministry to host one of the largest prayer breakfast in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. And y'all, and I take it not for granted, I don't take God for granted what He is doing in the city. And just to build, to strengthen, to motivate, to encourage, people. That is our thing. That's our mission, is to build, to strengthen, to motivate, to encourage people, men, women of God. Yes, of standard. And I just thank God for, yeah, what he's doing in my life. And I continue to tell the Lord, yes, take me higher. Your will be done, oh Lord. So yeah.
That's great. So, if someone wants to reach out to you, whether to be a speaker, y'all, she's available to speak. She's available to help you build, or if you want to bring the prayer breakfast to your city, say,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is something that's too big for me, but can you help me bring it?" She's your person. She is your person. If someone wants to contact you, how would they reach you on different social media outlets? How would they find you if they want to connect with you to do
Yes,
some?
I'm on all the social media outlet. I'm on Facebook as Cynthia Poe Poe Austin Austin. Cynthia Poe Austin. I have my ministry Facebook. That's Designing Women Ministries. I'm on Instagram as Designing Women. And my phone number is 501-952-5039. I have an email, Cynthia Y. Austin 1960 at gmail.com. And so I'm available. I told the Lord yes. So whatever his will, I say yes.
Wow. So thank you again, Cynthia, for being on. And those of
Thank
you
you.
that watch the replay, don't forget, get your tickets. Keep your eye out because the flyer will be out soon about
Yes.
Designing Women Prayer Breakfast. Y'all have a great evening and God bless.